Mr. Ambassador, I'd like to ask you to join me again. I know we strayed from this a little bit, but we're back on track. We're absolutely grateful to have you here this morning. And as Mayor Vilvin said, we realize that it's a very busy time, but we're grateful that you've taken time out of your busy schedule to grace us with your presence. And as such, I'd like to offer you the podium so you can say a few words to the people.
Good afternoon. I'm very pleased to be here. I wasn't sure if I would make it because this week, as most of you who've been watching television, saw the United Nations open up. You know, the year for the United Nations opens up the 3rd week of September. And this year we had 133 presidents and prime ministers. And Dominica was represented by our president, His Excellency Dr. Nicholas Liverpool. And it's the first time that our president has come to the UN, so it was quite an honor and a challenge, making sure that I received him and made sure that the stay was well organized. In addition to that, we had our Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honorable Vince Henderson, as well. So the president left yesterday, and the minister left this morning. I was at the airport early this morning. So I said I wasn't going to drive to Connecticut, I'd just take the train. So I'm pleased to be here, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Delmans Moses, the president of DOTSAC, David Mann, who is basically, I would say, the focal point person for DOTSAC, as well as Mr. Moses and the other members of DOTSAC. Distinguished honorees, well, we only have one here, but as well as Rosalind, fellow Dominicans and friends of Dominica here. Of course, it's always a pleasure to be with my Dominican people in a room. Because even at the UN, I don't see that many Dominicans. I see a few. We do have some staff, Dominican staff at the UN, security officers as well as professional staff. But it's only when I go to events like this I really get immersed with my people. So I'm pleased to be here and to be associated with the 2nd annual raising of the flag in Bridgeport. Some of you were here last year when it was the inaugural launching of this event, and it was graced with the presence of Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt, and I think we had another minister, Minister Charles Savary was there last year. And it was a really colorful event. We had quite a turnout. People came all the way from New York for this. And we are indeed honored to have our flag fly over City Hall in Bridgeport. You know, for many years, Dominica had a relationship with Westport, just up the road there. We Save the Children. That Save the Children had an office in Dominica. And I was actually fortunate to be the 2nd director of that office. So I was always in Westport, and I came to Bridgeport many times because Save the Children had a program in Bridgeport. I don't know if they still have that program. So there was that relationship. So it's good to see that another part of Connecticut has a relationship with Dominica. And this is an important one because you are helping to put our country in the minds of the people in Bridgeport by having our flag there. One of the things I should say about the flag is that there are 192 countries in the United Nations, but there are more than 192 countries in the world. But in terms of independent countries, there are 192. And there are not many flags in that 192 that has a bird on it. And people always come up to me at the UN and say, your flag is really lovely, and what makes it lovely is that bird. And what's the significance of the bird? And I'm always happy to tell them that that bird is unique to Dominica, and it belongs in the family of the Amazon parrots. You know, you could only find such a bird in places where you have significant forests. And you know, in this age, you probably heard a lot this week in the news about climate change. And climate change is affecting the whole world. it's affecting Dominica too. But what will save that parrot is our ability to conserve our forests. Because if the parrot will disappear if it doesn't have the type of forest that it now lives in. And so that flag is important to us. And to see it flying over City Hall for a month is a very good thing for us. I should say that, like Jean has said before me, to recognize why we are here, because Mayor Cecil Joseph had this, I call him a visionary, he had this notion of a flag-raising ceremony. And I remember, I think it was about three or 4 years ago when he was coming to Connecticut to see his family, and he wrote to me and said that he would like to meet the mayor of Bridgeport. And that was Mayor Finch's predecessor. And I wrote to this man, the then mayor, and said that Cecil Joseph would like to pay a courtesy call on him. And he agreed. And Cecil came, and in that meeting, which I also attended, Cecil raised this notion of a flag-raising ceremony. And I never thought it was going to have the impact that it had last year. So to Cecil, I must say that he had quite a vision, and that vision was to reach a lot of people. And he said to me, one of the reasons he was promoting that is that we have to find ways to change that perception that Dominica is a Dominican Republic. Every day at my office, we get calls for Dominican Republic. Every day. And sometimes maybe out of 100 calls, we get maybe like 20 calls asking, can I renew my passport? And they call it in Spanish. So, Mayor Finch, we are very appreciative of this partnership that's evolving here. And we look forward to the continuing deepening of that partnership. Events such as this one, which highlight and give publicity to our country, its people and its culture, contribute to building knowledge about our people and our unique culture. I wish to recognize the efforts of David, Rasmo, and other members of DOTSA, and I wish to encourage you to continue this annual activity, and also other activities that you're doing to promote Dominica. This event fits nicely within the framework of events marking the 31st anniversary of political independence, which incidentally was launched officially yesterday at the Old Mill Cultural Center. The activities for independence, 31 years was launched. The theme for this year's celebration is celebrating progress and development. After 31 years, there's much our nation can celebrate. When we think of progress and development, a lot of times we think about structures, buildings, and we now have a stadium. Clearly, that's part of progress. But I don't think of progress in those terms. My notion of progress is more about institutions, things that are truly Dominican. Anybody could build a building, but there are certain things that is truly unique to Dominica. That is what, when you talk about Dominica, that's what the attribute of being a Dominican, of being associated with our country is. There are a few things I wanted to just highlight as far as this notion of progress and development. First of all, it is our embrace and appreciation of who we are. And you know, what makes Dominicans unique even within the Caribbean? And I always say that we are people with a background of Carib, African, and European. That is what makes us different. And a lot of times, you know, people say, oh, Dominica has very beautiful women. And they say the women are fair, you know, they don't, where does that come from? But what a lot of people don't know is that most of us have Carib blood in us, some connection with the Carib people. And that makes us different. And therefore our culture is that melting pot of Carib, African, and European. which many other islands don't have.